Denny Segura for MMA Junkie. I'm here with BKFC president David Feldman, who is in the news a lot recently. Obviously, a lot going on with this promotion, not only sporting wise, but also business wise. A lot of new stuff going on with BKFC. So, first of all, David, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to talk to us. And how are you? How you been?
I'm doing good, Danny, man. Just like you said, busy, man. Busy. Got to fly into Ireland tonight to finish up everything with that deal.
So let's talk about that. That's the big news. There's a lot going on, but that's obviously the biggest news going on. In your last show, Knucklemania 4, you announced that Conor McGregor is now part owner of BKFC. You guys had a whole video playing, and very exciting news for the promotion, for the sport. Let's start here. How did this come about? Because this wasn't his first time, around a BKFC show, right? Like, he was there in person when Mike Perry fought prior to Knucklemania 4. We know that, he's got some sponsorships as well. How long has this been brewing? How long has it been cooking?
I think it's been cooking since the last time that he actually came to our fight last April in Denver. He jumped in the ring with Mike Perry, and that kind of was a viral moment for us. And then we partnered with his Forged Irish Stout. They are a sponsor of BKFC, and then it just evolved into talking about it. He loves the product, and it was a good fit for us, and it was a good fit for him.
Okay, nice. So before going to that event, there was no conversations. That's where it all began. He saw the product, he stepped in there, had a little face off with Perry, and that's what kind of took everything off.
Yeah, I think he commented on some of our stuff before and reached out a little bit. We were talking to some of his security and things like that, but that's when it really took off, was obviously after that moment. Everybody was talking about it then.
Did you ever think this was a possibility? Because this is huge news. Like, we're talking about the biggest star in combat sports right now, I would say, and certainly in MMA. Did you ever think this was going to be a possibility?
No, never. Honestly, it was never really anything that we were even thinking about until the conversation came up, and then, obviously a little hesitant on it because he's a UFC guy. I mean, he is a UFC fighter, and he has fights left with them, and he has a great relationship with Dana and the whole entire team. So just had to figure out how that could work, and we figured out how it could work. And a lot of people have been talking about this lately. We don't consider ourselves competition to the UFC, and I don't think the UFC considers us competition, not even on our scale, but in our sport, right? Mm-hmm. And I just think we created our own lane. We, probably obviously compete for some of the same fighters at times, but I mean, at the end of the day, we're just a whole different product than they are. So I saw it as a great fit. I saw it as someone that, this is where bare knuckle started in Ireland with the Fields, and they would do a lot of bare knuckle fights, and this is where it really started. So the heritage is there. The notoriety is there, and and it's a phenomenal action-packed sport.
Yeah, no, the partnerships definitely seems very fitting. Did the UFC have to get involved in this? Did he have to get UFC's blessing? Did you guys have to work at all with the UFC? How did it work on that end?
Yeah, we didn't really talk to them at all.
Okay.
I'm sure Conor, did what he had to do. I'm sure he got the blessing, and that's amazing, right? He got the blessing to do a deal with us, so that's awesome as well. But look, he's one of the most talked about combat sports athletes in the, I don't know, the last 20, 25 years. Him, Mike Tyson, Floyd Mayweather, Oscar De La Hoya, right? There's not too many more that go into that bracket, and to be able to partner with someone like that, it's phenomenal.
Yeah. And I'm not sure if you can shed any light on this, so maybe you can, maybe you can't. But in terms of like the ownership, like how big of a stake are we talking about in terms of McGregor's piece of the pie here?
Yeah, we're not going to talk about it because that's just something we don't want to talk about. But I will say that he has a lot of say in what we're going to do. He has a lot of he's going to have a lot of ideas, and I think we're gonna make a lot of moves together. But nothing is going to be disclosed right now on exactly what he has right now. We're going to get the deal done tomorrow, completely done, and then we'll see what we do from there.
Nice. And that's something else that I wanted to ask you. Like, he it seems from the comments, also some of the things that you've mentioned as well, I believe speaking with SiriusXM, that he's not just an investor, he's not just somebody that sees a future in BKFC, but he also wants to have a bit of a say and kind of work with the product as well. And it seems that that's also what you are open to, and that's something that you want. I guess, like, what are some of the things that you're looking to work with McGregor? I don't know if there's been any early conversations, and we just wanted to confirm as well, like, is he going to be helping you sort of, I guess, manage the company or with ideas and stuff?
Listen, I'm asking you a question. Can you see Conor McGregor being quiet, right?
No.
He's not going to be quiet, right? So, I mean, he's not a guy. Combat sports landscape right now, there's a lot of people throwing money into combat sports right now. So the money isn't the hardest thing to come by. It's getting the right partnership. And we wouldn't have done a money partnership with Conor McGregor because that doesn't make sense. We want input. We want him, his persona. We want him to blow it up and do the things that he does. He's got great ideas. He's got phenomenal business acumen. I mean, look, the guy has built a lot of stuff around his career and what he's done. So we don't want him to be quiet, right? And I think, we want him to make as much noise as possible. And that's why we did this partnership.
Yeah. And how big do you think this will be? Obviously, we'll find out in time. This is, huge, but like, I don't know if you've thought about sort of the returns already. Like, what do you think this will do to BKFC and the growth of the company?
I mean, I think, there's a lot of things out there, TV deals, sponsorship deals, different type of investments, going in different places to do fights. And I think all those things Conor lends a big hand in. Just his name. And then, when he gets and talks about the sport and how much he likes it and where he thinks this sport is going to go, I think, it's only a big, big plus for us. And I think that when I think down the road, where do I see us? I mean, I've said it for a long time. I think have a strong case to be the number 2 combat sport promotion in the world. And I think this kind of solidifies that. And, we never really target being the biggest and the best right now. I mean, the UFC is a juggernaut and they got a hell of a product and they got a hell of a team and, they're all good guys. So, we just want to succeed and by doing bigger and better every year, that makes us successful. And I think we've come a long way in 5.5 years. And I think we're in a great spot right now.
Yeah, certainly. And you mentioned the UFC a few times throughout this interview. I know that a few weeks ago, I don't remember the exact timeline, but you met with UFC President Dana White, right? You guys had some discussions. I believe he spoke about that. I guess, how did that come about as well? Were you just talking about, like, sort of combat sports industry? If you can give us some insight into that.
It was really just, he was gracious enough to meet me. We met him, we talked, we just talked about some numbers and, the business landscape in general, really, and, what he had planned and stuff like that. And I thought we left the meeting pretty good. And I think we have a pretty decent relationship, but it's not, we're not best friends. We're not going to go out to dinner tomorrow. We're not going to do a business deal anytime soon. But I mean, it was great to, if you will, break bread with the guy.
Yeah, nice. Certainly, BKFC, the amount of growth that you guys have had has been quite impressive. So now let's talk about fighting and sort of leave the business aspect aside. Let's talk about what happened recently. Knucklemania 4, we saw Mike Perry pick up a huge victory over Thiago Alves. The King of Violence remains the King of Violence. It seems that, he's just really flourished under the BKFC banner, unlike he did in the UFC. It just seems he was very, like, made for this, tailor-made for this. I guess, where does he go next? He's talked about Darren Till. It seems that fight, there's a lot of heat. There's a lot of interest in that, since that rivalry has kind of been brewing for a while. But we also haven't heard much from Darren Till. Is it possible that we see Perry versus Till, or is there other things that maybe you have in the works?
I mean, there could be, right? I mean, he reached out to me. We reached back out to Till, and, we'll see what happens to that. There's a couple other options. We're actually going to be talking about it big time next week. There's also a Dave Mundell option for the 175-pound championship. And, there's a couple different things that we're going to talk about, doing a big show with Mike in the fall. And, what can I say? Mike Perry is, he's created a hell of a name for himself and a hell of a life for himself with BKFC. And, it's a great partnership for us. So we're going to see where that thing goes next week and what's next for Mike. But I mean, anytime we put Mike into the equation, it turns out really, really good for us.
Yeah, no, for sure. So you're in talks with Till. You said there's been some
I
early.
mean, like, I'm not saying we're in talks. We're
Mhm.
communicating, right? We're
Gotcha.
not getting down in the nitty gritty talks or anything like that yet. And, I don't know if bare knuckle is his thing or not.
Yeah.
And, we'll find out soon, but he's been always very, very nice and gracious and polite to me. And, we are scheduled to have a conversation next week, and, we'll see where that thing goes.
Nice. Okay. But if he's in, you guys are all in making that next.
I love that. I love that fight. I mean, I also love him versus Dave Mundell for the 75-pound
Yeah.
championship. I think a lot of people want to say, why is Mike not fighting for the championship yet? And it's a good opportunity for him. But I think Darren Till, probably amongst any other name out there, was the one that will create the most traction for this right now. And I think if he does want to fight, that would be amazing. And if he doesn't, then we have other options.
Yeah, for sure. And something that's been interesting about the Mike Perry sort of experiment per se, or at least this chapter of his career, is that he kind of did show that, like, in my opinion, like BKFC is offering an avenue for fighters that can really flourish there. Like some people are really just made for this, right? Like he obviously had a lot of success in the UFC and became a popular name, but you can't compare it to the success that he's having under the BKFC banner. Is that something, like, before this really took off, something that you saw as sort of a void in the combat sports space, that there is this sort of avenue that that's better suited for some other fighters and can highlight some other fighters? I mentioned real quick, I talked to Leonard Garcia some time ago, and he's like, man, I just wish this shit was around like way earlier. I wouldn't have done MMA. I would have done this, it just seems like you guys are filling in a space that was non-existent, right, in combat sports.
Yeah, man. I mean, we created our own lane, and it is different. It does give other people options. Look, you might not be the best grappler in the world, you might not be the best boxer in the world, but if you want to fight, this is a great place to fight, right? And it's a great place to create great fights, exciting fights, and to have a chance of doing something different with your career, because you don't have to have all the wear and tear of your body in training that you do with MMA, and it's a lot different from boxing. Like I always say, this is a fight. This is not a boxing match. It's not it's not a grappling match. It's a fight. So for the guys that want to come and fight, this is it. And the fans that want to watch fighting, this is it. There's nothing more exciting in the world.
Yeah, 100%. And moving on to some other fighters I want to ask you here about. Paige VanZant, right? She was in the news. It's believed that she signed with the Misfits and she's going to be doing some boxing there. Is she still a BKFC fighter? How does that work out?
Yeah, I mean, I think she did an article, an interview that said, she loves BKFC and should be back. She's always welcome here. Be glad to see her back in action in boxing, and then bring her back to BKFC to do a fight for sure. Like I always said about Paige, man, I take my hat off to her. She's a girl that doesn't have to fight. She doesn't have to do anything anymore.
Yeah,
she's gonna fight, and she wants to fight bare knuckle and get hit in her face with bare knuckles. I mean, you got to take your hat off to someone like that. She always fought good. It's not like she fought and got her ass kicked when she fought for us. Yep. She got beat, but she was in very competitive fights, and I love to see her back. Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah, nice. And let me ask you also about Eddie Alvarez. Last time he fought, he lost to Mike Perry. It was a very, very tough fight. What's his future like? He's a veteran. Obviously, he's been around for a long time. I don't think he's retired or said anything like that. But could we expect him back in the BKFC ring? Is that something that you guys have discussed already? Or?
Yeah, I think so. I had a call with his manager earlier today, and I have a good relationship with Eddie, so I definitely think that's something that we can see back in here. We're gonna be back in there. Hopefully we have a fight here in Philadelphia, and he gets to fight in front of his hometown crowd. That'll be huge, and hopefully that happens sooner than later. So, yeah, absolutely, he'll be back.
Yeah, I'm sure Philly will get down for some bare knuckle fights, right?
100%, Danny.
Yeah. And real quick, just about Ben Rothwell as well. He picked up a bit of an odd win over Todd Duffee. It was a very quick fight. Your thoughts on that fight in itself, in the stoppage? It seemed he had an injury. I don't know if there's an update on that. If something,
he did have an injury. He had what they call a stinger, where his body froze up a little bit. He did have a slight little surgery on a pinched nerve. So something did happen. I mean, obviously, probably like you and everybody else, after the fight, I was like, what the hell just happened?
Yeah.
This guy just quit. And, I'm like, he's not ready for this. But, we're going to really watch it closely. I I do want to see what happened with him medically, and if everything that he's saying is true, I'll give him another shot.
Cool. And in terms of Ben Rothwell, is he getting the next shot at heavyweight?
It could be. We have a couple big fights in the works right now, and that's going to come out soon. But the next one's going to be a big one, whether it's for a championship or something else. But it'll be a big one.
Okay, nice. And lastly, and I don't mean any disrespect whatsoever on with this question. I think the BKFC product has exceeded everyone's expectation. I think you guys are doing well. But for the most part, like the top billing has always been, either boxers that made their name in boxing or fighters from the UFC that made their name in MMA headlining these shows for you guys. And there's obviously a lot of talent that has been homegrown, but I guess like when do you expect a switch in terms of like having a star that's sort of homegrown? Is that something that you're actively working to do?
I think right now, Danny, I'm sorry to cut you off.
Yeah,
I know
no worries, no worries.
I think right now, I think June 21st at the Hard Rock, we're headlined by guys that we groomed just in BKFC. Co-main event is most of the card are all BKFC homegrown guys, and guess what? It's going to be our largest gig we've ever done at the Hard Rock with all homegrown BKFC guys. So I think we are starting that right now. It took us obviously a couple of years to get there, but I think right now we're starting to build some of our own stars, and I think it's going to be about 2 years before just our stars can be headlining these shows. But I think we're definitely on our way there. We're on the road there right now.
Yeah, for sure. Lastly, this company has been doing great, as I said. What do you envision for the next 5 years, right? Like, where do you see yourself? Because I'm sure, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you did envision this all along, but 5 years ago, I don't know if you would have seen yourself in this position. Maybe not. You tell me. But another 5 more years, where do you think BKFC will be at, and where do you want it to be at?
I mean, Danny, honestly, man, we've got some really big offers to sell the company, and we're not there yet. I mean, financially, great offers, like life-changing offers, but we're just not there yet for where I wanted to grow this company. We're not there yet. So, I can see us in 3 or 4 years getting out of this thing if the money's right and we're at the place we need to be. But I don't think as a sport I grew it to where we wanted to grow it yet. And I've always been in this for legacy, and I'm going to continue to be in this for legacy. I'm not in this for money. And the money's going to come when you build legacy and you grow something great. And we're growing something great. We're doing something awesome. And I think in 5 years from now, really, probably won't be around anymore. But somebody will probably acquire that thing. But I see us being a solid number 2 combat sport promotion in the entire world. Could be number 1. And when I say number 1, never this as big as the UFC, but this is big, like a lot wider. I just think we're going to go everywhere, different than the UFC. But obviously, they're the NFL combat sports, and they're always going to be.
Yep. All right, David. Well, always a pleasure talking to you. Thank you for taking time to talk to us over here at MMA Junkie, and looking forward to what's next with BKFC and what the next 5 years of this company is going to bring us. So thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Dan. Appreciate it, bud. Bye-bye.